94.9 The Urge, Haddonfield's home for rock.
I'm Willie the Kid, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JEFFMAN316 Pop Culture Reporter channel. I'm your host, as always, JEFFMAN316, or just Jeff. And as you can see, I've got a special guest here with me today. This is a special episode of JEFFMAN316 Let's Talk Movies, and we're going to talk to Jason Pitts. He's writer, director, producer of several independent films that I've enjoyed. I've actually talked about him on the channel, and I've been telling him I wanted to get him on here to discuss some of those, so we finally did it. So welcome, Jason.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I really appreciate you stopping by. I know everybody's been rushing through the holidays, so I appreciate you taking a little time to chat with us. We've talked several times over the months. I wanted to set this up, like I said, so it's really nice to go ahead and do it. I've discovered you, obviously, through the intraweb, as people call it. You know, Facebook has been really good to me as far as discovering new horror and independent filmmakers and that stuff over the last year or so. Obviously I've participated in, I think, at least one live stream with you where we talked horror movies, and then so a lot of the stuff on this channel is horror related. I know some of the stuff that you've done actually, is horror, and that's kind of like probably where our connection started. But I enjoyed watching you talk about your films on several of the horror Facebook groups, and then once I started following you, I've pretty much enjoyed everything you've done. We can go through each of the films or whatever, but before we do that, if you want to give a brief introduction to yourself and tell us about yourself, just in case anybody doesn't know who you are and they're not familiar with your work.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Jason Pitts. I love film. Grew up with horror films. It's a part of my soul and who I am as a person. I absolutely love them, and I love the creativity that comes with the horror genre, and just how open and everything is. You can pretty much do anything. Your imagination is the limit, and it's very freeing. It's one of the reasons it's my favorite genre. And I just grew up through the 80s watching Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Romero's zombie films, the Night of the Living Dead series, and just really just fell in love with it. And it's what I've always wanted to do is make films, make horror films. And so the last 3 years, I just really have focused and dedicated myself to achieving that. And the short films that we've done in the last few years have just been a blessing for me, and just have really enjoyed doing what I'm passionate about doing.
Well, that's great. You and I were talking before we came on here. I think one of the first movies that I saw you promoting or talking about was Masquerade. And then when I discussed that with you, actually, I think I whatever I had donated or whatever got me a DVD of it. I got the poster hanging up behind me here. But then at the time you and I chatted, and you actually told me that you had made a movie previous to that I was unaware of. And then so I think, I don't remember whether you gave me the link or whatever, but I ended up watching one of the first movies that I saw yours was Alone. Was that the very first movie you had made?
No. So like my story starts kind of like back in the early 2000s. I went to film school at the University of North Texas in Denton. I got my degree and I started making films then. I did do a feature that it's pretty terrible, and I don't really show it too much anymore. But that screenplay was sold to a production company, and they remade it. And that film is called Manji. You can still buy it on Amazon today. I wasn't involved in the production of it. I did work on set as a PA production assistant, but I did write the screenplay, and it was pretty cool. I was able to walk into like Blockbuster at the time or Hollywood Video and see the film on the shelf with my name on it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But I didn't after that. I just kind of like life just kind of happened. We started having kids, and I started having to focus more on supporting my family. So I got a retail job, worked at Target for a long time, worked as worked my way up to a manager. And before I knew it, 15 years went by, and my son was graduating high school. And I was just like, I don't know, something about that hit me really hard. And I just made the decision that I am going to start working in film again and try to make my dream happen. And that's when I worked on a few other sets that weren't mine as a cinematographer or a production assistant. But shortly after that, in 2020, is when I decided to do this. And Alone was the first film that I did after I came back that was mine, that I wrote and directed.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a couple people already here, but Clint says,
Clint.
yeah, Masquerade is so good. Yeah, I love Masquerade. We'll talk about that a little more later, but yeah, I think that's the same. And Jude says hello. All right, appreciate you guys already dropping in and watching us. But I noticed, and it may not have any significance, but your production company is called Lucid Lake Productions. Does that have any significance to you, or how did you pick that name? It's kind of a cool name. I like that.
So growing up, the two film or the two franchises that like influenced me the most, I just absolutely loved, were Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. And so Lucid Lake is an homage to both of them. Lucid Dreams for Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Crystal Lake for Friday the 13th. And if you look at the logo, it's like the woods in a lake, and then there's like a red and green stripe through it. So it's kind of a mix between Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's cool. Yeah, I figured it had some significance to it. But yeah, so Alone, like I said, if we want to go ahead and start there and talk about it, it listed as 2020 on Internet Movie Database. Is that when you actually made it, or did you make it before then and it wasn't released?
Yeah, we shot it in 2020. I think it was the spring. It was like the spring, March, April. And then we released it in the fall, like October, November 2020.
And Samantha Shaw plays Kat, the main character, well, one of the main characters. And I guess, one of the things I just like movies so much. I think one of the advantages of making short films is that you get a really small, tight cast, and you can. It looks like you have got some mainstays where you've used quite a bit in some of your movies. So I remember seeing her also as the detective in Masquerade. So that was nice to to start seeing some familiar faces in some of your movies. And then the secondary character obviously is Marilyn Knapp. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yes. Yeah.
Plays Patty. So how did you meet those people to start getting those to be in your movies?
So Samantha I met in Birmingham, Alabama earlier that year. It was one of those projects that I was working as a cinematographer, and that's actually where I met a lot of the people that eventually became the beginning of the film family that we have built together. But Samantha was there, James Stokes was there, Kelly Lane, Olivia Disney, and yeah, just that Buddy Campbell. That was the beginning of what became and grew over the last 3 years. And Marilyn Knapp. Once I decided that I was going to make Alone, I put out a casting call, and it's one of the few times I've actually done a casting call, because a lot of times I'll write these stories and these characters for people that I already have a really good relationship with, and I trust with that character. But I had like 5 people send auditions back, and she was the one that absolutely knocked it out of the park. And so I met with her and talked about it, and she came on board and was absolutely fantastic in the film. And I love Marilyn. She's been fantastic to know the past couple of years, and just fits right in with our family. So
Yeah, we'll talk about the movie later, but she popped up again, and when the stairs creak, and you had just sent me the link to that, and I watched it. I enjoyed that, but yeah, I thought she did a good job in that as well. And it's been a while since I watched Alone. The Is that the one that you actually in that movie? Do you play the who plays the person in the convenience store?
yeah, that was me. Yeah, that
Was
was my
that you? I thought that was you in there.
yeah.
There's a line that she says in there that after you watch it the first time, I chuckled. I did anyway, where she goes that no one's going to suspect the old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said that, I was like, once you see it and know what happens, and I don't know if you want to give any spoilers out or whatever, but I'll try to stay away from a lot of that. But I really thought, once you watch it and you hear her say that, you can't watch the rest of it the same way again. And I thought it was a really good, the interaction between the two playing off each other, because at first you can obviously, when you got a movie like that and you think it's going to go one way, it's either going to be something going on with the older lady or the younger one. Which one is it going to be? And more than likely, you probably would always suspect that it would be the younger lady of the two that something happened. So I kind of like how you flip that around. And it was, you really didn't expect it to be the older person that was going to do that, that she was like the kind-hearted, nice lady that was trying to do everything. But obviously you realize it was that she was just trying to make that person feel comfortable so she wouldn't suspect her or whatever.
Right.
You had mentioned Friday 13th. They say they love 1 and 2, oddly. Well, I think Friday 13th Part 1 is such a different film than the rest of them. So that's why a lot of people, So as far as Alone goes, did you have any inspiration to that, or were you trying to pattern that after anything, or something you had seen earlier, or what?
Well, Alone started with I had the idea several years before I wrote it. I wrote it and had the idea several years before we shot it. But I was meeting with a friend named John Baker, and he's a very talented filmmaker, and he was wanting me to write something for him to shoot and direct. At the time, he was doing music videos, and so we talked about an idea. The kernel was just what you said. The villain is somebody you don't expect, and comes off as very welcoming and caring at the beginning, and then you flip it on its head, and all of a sudden this person is actually this horrific monster. And so that's where we started, and we developed it from there. And I worked on and once I had the script written, it is kind of loosely based off of Misery and Kathy Bates's character, Annie Wilkes.
Okay.
We took some. In fact, Marilyn, she asked me if she could pay homage to Misery, and there's some lines in the film that Kathy Bates says in Misery. At one point, she calls some people dirty birds, and she calls the cop Brock. She calls him Mr. Man. So,
I remember that now. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a nice touch.
We fit some cool stuff in there, doing that. But then John ended up just being happy where he was making the music videos, and moved to Florida. And so he never did it. And then when I decided to get back into film, I was like, man, this thing's been sitting here forever, and I think it's really good. And it'd be, just a couple characters, couple locations, it would be a great place to start. And so that's where we started.
Okay. Well, like I said, we were talking before we came on here, and you mentioned, so after you did Alone, what was your next project that you worked on?
The next project after Alone was a short project called Mama Lou's Bridge. And it is on my YouTube channel. I don't really promote it too much. I never entered it into any film festivals. I think it's not because I don't think it's good. I think it is actually really good. It's short. Like it's shorter than everything else. So it's a fun little film. I am proud of it, and I really like it. So if anybody out there watching, go check it out. But then after Mama Lou's Bridge came Masquerade.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, that's kind of where I connected with you, because I watched you talk about it and do some promotion on there. And I've said this in one of my other live streams, and just so you know, I've recorded my review of Masquerade. I'm going to edit it this week and put it out on my channel, because I think it's a really good movie. But I failed to mention, anybody that's interested in it, Alone, I'm pretty sure it's still available on Tubi, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. And I know Masquerade is, because I had to dig out my DVD of that today, but since I didn't want to look for it at the beginning, when I was finding the poster, I went ahead and brought that up on Tubi. The good thing about it is your films are kind of short and compact, so you don't have to worry about a ton of commercials in there. But that's another good thing about short films, though, is you have to get the pace moving pretty quick, and like try to do the hook early on, so that because you don't have a lot of time to play with. And that's one of the things I like about the next movie that we're talking about is Masquerade. I personally think, obviously I love Friday the 13th, so I love the Voorhees movie you did and the one that's coming out. But I don't know what I think. One of the things, as a horror lover, I've always liked the concepts of masks. And I've even told people that was one of the things when I've read books or whatever, is that it's really could be a disturbing concept, because you and I both could be presenting ourselves as somebody that's totally different than who we are in here. And so the idea of not only just the physical masks that people wear that can hide themselves away, where they can be somebody else, is that you could do like in this movie, where you could actually be somebody that you're not really true inside. And I thought that Olivia Disney gives a tremendous performance in this movie, because through your Facebook page, I discovered her, and I've seen her on social media, and I've watched her do interviews. I mean, she seems like she's such a sweetheart. I mean, I think she even is doing was it a Hallmark movie or something she was in?
Yeah, she's done several Lifetime movies.
Yeah, that's what it was. To see that and then have it go into this movie.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil everything for anybody, but to have her character go from one extreme to the other like that, I thought she just did an amazing job of that. So when I'll go ahead and read the description pretty quick. It's on Internet Movie Database. For Masquerade, it says, what happens when two people meet for the first time on a blind date, but neither one are who they presented themselves to be? So it's kind of like I said, the mask concept, because the gentleman that ends up, trying to hook up with her obviously isn't telling the truth about who he is. And ultimately, she definitely wasn't telling the truth about what was going on in her life. But what was your inspiration for this movie?
So my inspiration for Masquerade, Olivia and I were with a bunch of other people at dinner one night, and we were going around talking about what our dream role or dream film would be. And Olivia said that her dream role would be to play this like just batshit crazy character that you can't help but love. Like, she's doing insane, crazy things, but at the same time, you just love the character. And a big inspiration is Harley Quinn, right? And in fact, she's like Harley, or Baby from House of a Thousand Corpses and Rob Zombie's films. So Baby and Harley Quinn were huge inspirations on the character in Masquerade. And so she just talked about how that was her dream character. and I was like, well, let's do it. Let's write it. So in the process of developing the character and writing it, we came up with the idea of masks and how it would be really cool and interesting if you have this character who the world knows, the world sees them. They're this superstar that everybody has their eyes on, but they are not really seeing her. And that is just a really interesting concept for me. And we just took it and ran with it. But I think I might have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Are you? Can you see her backstage?
Yeah.
Is she there?
Ah. Hey.
Hi. It's
Hey,
so
how
nice
you
to meet
doing?
you. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Was your ears burning? We were talking about.
Yeah, I felt it in my soul, so I said, "Let me just entertain myself." I'll
Oh,
just
yeah.
hop on.
I was so enthralled in the conversation. I didn't even pay attention. You pop up down there. I appreciate you coming on. This is awesome.
Yeah. We call this the pull up.
Yeah.
Best friend was like, "Hey, I'm doing an interview. Let's just do this." No, I have been wanting to talk to you either way. I've seen your support on Facebook, so this is just perfect.
Yeah, when like I don't know how long you're listening, but yeah, when Jason and I were talking about Masquerade is my favorite film of his, and I was telling him that the concept, of the mask or whatever. So it was so awesome to hear him tell the backstory that you helped come up with that. So I mean, obviously, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known that.
Yeah,
So that's
I
pretty
mean,
amazing.
it's so beautiful when you find someone that you get to connect with on a creative level, and then you're able to just bounce back ideas. That was such a amazing part of Masquerade, and then it continued on set, but even to whole different levels. Like I was able to reach different levels in my acting career and what I had access to, and then everyone was just so safe and so creative. So we were able to explore within the scenes as well. It was beautiful.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the you see that character just seemed like such a sweetheart at the beginning, and so I was like going in it with the first few minutes. I was like, what is this guy gonna do to her? And then when it gets flipped, I was like, whoa.
Yes, I love. No, okay, so we were really worried about that
Yeah.
in the beginning. I was so stressed because I was just like, Jason, I turned too quick. They're gonna know immediately. Like we wanted her to feel like the damsel in distress. That was ideal for us. Is her to look like she needed saving from the second you saw clowns and robbers to a weird guy showing up at the front door. We were hoping that that's where you would fall.
Yeah, that's obviously the natural way that you would think the story would go. But even though it turns pretty quick, there's so much deeper going, a lot of stuff deeper going on with that character. I mean, she goes way farther than I would think about it. And then the whole, the ending of it when you're trying to, to go back and bury it all down and pretend like that, that nothing happened or whatever. So it's like you take the character like full circle. That's pretty amazing. I love that.
The fact that you appreciate that, I'm getting so hyped because isn't that so amazing? Like for some, I mean, we were literally that free in the script and in the character and on the set. So like, I mean, it was a dream. I love Masquerade. Sylvia's Bay. We love her.
Yeah, I know. You guys need to make another one.
Yeah,
Don't we?
we do.
I will say
what
that
would the
one
next
was
one be about from an audience, from someone who loves Masquerade. What would you say?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, but I'm sure I could. I mean, because of the way that it ended, you could turn it to where, wherever she ends up going and going into quote unquote hiding, she could do something similar.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could flip it on it. Maybe that she tries to do it to someone again, but
Mhm.
they end up turning out to be someone that she wasn't suspecting. So it almost like they're playing against each other.
Yeah.
So you could,
Battle of
that
the
character you
Mask.
could take either way.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to think about it for sure.
Yeah, and then it was awesome though that loving that movie so much. I appreciated you popping up in some of his other stuff. So I mean, you guys wanted. I've got another friend that makes some independent films, Peter Anthony, and it's awesome to see how you guys have formed these tight little groups of people, actors and producers, directors, obviously, and writers, where you guys collaborate and can make these projects now. I mean, you obviously a decade ago you couldn't have even done this.
I know.
But things have come so far. I mean, a year ago, I didn't even want to get on the internet and talk to people. And then once you start doing it, it kind of becomes addictive a little bit. So,
no,
I mean,
for sure. And this world is so small. I mean, so big, but yet so small. I think that once you find your community, and Jason kind of touched on this already, it really does become family. And I think this business is so incredibly hard. So once you find people who are kind of struggling in it with you, you just latch on, and then you're like, let's do this together. No, it's absolutely beautiful. And I think that that's the only way you can make it and stay sane, is to find your love for it with people.
Yeah, Clint says Olivia plays a psycho pretty well.
What? Yeah. And I mean, it's because I'm a great actor, not because I'm actually psycho.
He said, I'm a little bothered she killed a dude named Clint.
Yeah. Oh, he needs to show up in our next one. That is, yes, it is. That's funny.
Hey, Jeff, this is a friend of mine who always supports me on my live stream, Scott. So I really appreciate you coming by, and hopefully you enjoy. And you guys, anybody that's watching now, the movie we were talking about is Masquerade. It's one of my favorite short films, independent films. And I was lucky enough to get Jason on here, and then he surprised me by getting Olivia on here. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, she also starred in Vorhees Night of the Beast.
We love Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
And then say hi, friends. Yeah, I appreciate everybody coming on. So I don't know. Do you want to stay and chat with us? Because the next movie we're going to talk about is Vorhees Night of the Beast.
Well, sure. I'll do Voorhees, and then I can jump off and let you guys. Were having such a good.
Okay.
We just wanted a quick little surprise.
Yeah, that's fine. But I figure since you're in it, if you want to.
Yeah, might as well, because that was that was a hard character. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, well, that was one of the ones that I actually reviewed for Jason. He sent me an early screener of it, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm a film fan, so a lot of people go into these independent movies and talk about, this is the stuff you guys are making. Obviously, is probably considered micro budget.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the thing I love about it is talking to the people behind the scenes, looking at the Facebook stuff, and watching the process of how committed you guys are. Like you're making the $100 million project. I mean, I watch all the posts you guys make, and it's pretty amazing how close you are, how much effort you put into the stuff. Like you want to still put out the best product possible. So when you get into something like that, I'm assuming Jason's already mentioned Friday the 13th, so he must have been like a super fan of Friday the 13th. So you go from making a couple of independent movies that were creative, you created the characters there, to something now where you're playing off of a fan favorite film and make a fan film. How does that process start? How do you go from that into that realm? So
the idea of making Voorhees came about again from that same conversation around the table. James Stokes, when it got to his turn, he was talking about his dream role. He actually talked about playing a character, an iconic character like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. And I had already been thinking about doing a Friday the 13th fan film. So when he mentioned that, it got my wheels turning a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, I got through Masquerade first, and then I started writing the script for Voorhees. And then I called him and I was like, hey, I got the script. I think it's pretty good. It leads right into Jason Goes to Hell. And I sent it to him, and he read it, and he loved it. And another thing about doing Friday the 13th is it's such a well-known character and a well-known franchise. I didn't know that it would blow up like it did, but I knew that we would get eyes on us. And so the idea was just to show people what we could do, like Olivia's acting, James is acting, Will's editing and acting, like we are Sala's special effects, just showcasing the talent that this group has, was a real motivating factor to just push through all of the hurdles and obstacles, because I knew that tackling Jason Voorhees would get eyes on us. I did not realize it would get over 500,000 views in 6 months, which is insane. So
well, the good thing about it was really timely, because there were several other big fan films from Friday the 13th that was coming out around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you probably got a little push there from the fan base. Plus, it's been so long since we had a Friday the 13th movie. Olivia, were you a fan of Friday the 13th?
Yeah, but I'll be honest, and I don't know. Jason might hate me for saying this. I was more Halloween though. I was more Michael Myers, but I'm just an indie horror in general. Like I want to do anything that Jason's doing, obviously, but whenever he was like, I got another horror film coming up, and I was like, sign me up, please. Yeah, so I was more Michael Myers.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was my favorite movie is Jaws. My second favorite movie is the original Halloween. So, but I was talking to Peter the other night and said that Peter Anthony, I think as a franchise though, if I had to sit down and watch several films, it'd probably be Friday the 13th. So that they're really good there.
They're just really fun to watch. You can just mindlessly put them on, still be entertained while you're doing other stuff. I mean, they're just a lot of fun.
I'm gonna say something. I'm being funny, but when I was watching it, you know, I love Masquerade so much, and I was like, you know, Olivia's character in there is so conniving and so, you know, intelligent and thinking things through. And then in Voorhees, you stop on the road with a Bigfoot in the middle of the road, and you're gonna put it in the car.
Listen, I got so stressed out reading this script from Jason. I'm like, you want me to do what? I cringe even thinking about it now. I want to have like a watch along, and then all the things that everyone gets frustrated about, I just want to talk about them with people because same. But it was such a beautiful opportunity as an actor to step away and to get into someone without judgment. Because the first thing that I did with Missy, I judged her. Like I judged. Chrissy was just like she was blindly in love, and she had such great intentions, but just so dumb. You're right, so different from Sylvia.
Well, no, but it wouldn't be a Friday the 13th if the characters didn't make stupid decisions.
That's what it was.
That's what it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, come on now, we got to treat Olivia a little bit better than this.
Why would he do that to me?
Yeah,
I think he did it on purpose. I made him mad before he wrote that script.
I never saw Chrissy as dumb. Her whole concept was, you know, the idea that the path to hell is paved in good intentions. Everything she did was
bad decisions.
Well, yeah, but everything she did was out of love.
It was
exactly.
They were just bad decisions that got everybody killed.
Yeah. So
love you guys too. Scott, where can I watch it? So Vorhees Night of the Beast is still on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then the Masquerade and Alone that we were talking about, you can catch those on Tubi. See the director of Friday the 13th, PITTS, since it was Voorhees. I'm not familiar with him. Yeah, he did Vorhees Night of the Beast, and then later we'll talk about the next one he's got coming up in that franchise there. Yeah, he directed the fan film Vorhees Night of the Beast. Look it up on YouTube. So yeah, everybody's giving you some love about your YouTube there. Amazing friends and talent on the stream. And yeah, I know. So he was telling me earlier, I'm just going to say that I'm not a huge fan of Lifetime movies and all that stuff, but my wife is, so I have to watch that stuff. Before you go, can you tell me one of the movies or whatever you've done that's on there? Because I know I can get her hooked into watching one of the movies.
Yeah, of course. There have been a couple. My most recent one, I should be better at this. Oh, Betrayed by My Bridesmaids. That was one that just came out like a month ago.
Okay.
My favorite one was
the cult one, right?
Yeah. What is that even called?
I don't remember.
I mean, that was a good one.
How about this? How about one day I'll get with you and you can come on. I'll interview you, and then you can do a little back. You can think about that stuff, and then we can talk about those.
I need to like research myself. IMDb me, Olivia Disney on IMDb, and then all my stuff will pop up. I'm gonna get better. I literally I do things that resonate with my soul, and then I'm like, what's next?
That's fine.
But yeah, so I feel really bad. But Betrayed by My Bridesmaid, definitely one to watch.
Well, since you're here, I was going to say this to, Jason, but if what you guys can accomplish in that short film Masquerade, I'm just telling you as a horror fan, I loved it. If you guys could do something, you got bigger and better things coming. So I know both you guys, you got with like I said, just these types of micro budget films to put the creativity you guys put into those things and the effort. It's much appreciated from fans like me. So
Hey, that means so much. That
Means
really
everything.
does, because and that's the reason why we do it, and that's what keeps us going. So, I really do appreciate that. And there are going to be a lot of other bigger and better budget films that we go on to create, but it's definitely, we're still going to resonate with all the fans that have helped us at this point.
I know both of you would do bigger and better things. So I'm just honored you guys let me chat with you a little bit at the beginning
Thank
of
you
the
for
part.
letting me crash the party,
Absolutely.
y'all.
No
That was
problem.
fun.
Well, yeah, hopefully I'll get you on later again one day.
Yeah. We'll really deep dive into Missy and Sylvia and all the things, because they have similarities, but very different by the eye, for
All
sure.
right. Well, thank you for
Okay,
stopping
thank
by. I really
you. Bye,
appreciate it.
best friend.
All
Love
right.
you. Bye.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that. That was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I had that setting that up for a couple days now. I was
Oh,
like,
well, thanks, man. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to steal too much of your time, so
well,
I'll hook up with her again later, and maybe I'll get her on, and she can talk about some of these roles that she's been in your films.
I know you really appreciated her performance and like her as an actress. So
Yeah, I love that movie. Like I said, it's got such a lot of different concepts, but like I told you, I think the mask part was what really got me, because a lot of people just go the short way, like, you know, the villains, quote unquote, in that movie wear like the clown mask and stuff like
Mhm.
she talked about. So I like that, because I had just got into movies like Haunt
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff like that, where, you know, and then obviously you got Terrifier. So the clown concept was kind of coming back in. So I like that. You know, if I'd have had the money at the time, or got in early, I'd have probably tried to get in on one of your perks where you could have got one of those masks. That was really cool. But with that being said, yeah. So Masquerade was the movie we were just talking about. Like I said, I highly recommend that anybody that watches the stream, go check that out on Tubi. And so we talked about her part in Vorhees Night of the Beast, and then you obviously talked a little more. Tell me a little bit about, again, James Stokes. What had you done with him prior? Because I thought he made a pretty amazing Jason
yeah,
Voorhees in that movie.
yeah. He was an awesome Jason. Yeah, I worked with him on a couple projects out in Alabama and yeah, Alabama, and we just really clicked, and he's like a brother to me now. Um, uh, and we've done several. We both worked for a company that turned out to be not great to work for, and so we kind of we don't usually try to promote them. So I'm not going to say the name, but
That's fine.
yeah. But then we went on to do Vorhees, and then he came back for Vorhees After the Beast, and he's coming back for my feature, The Forest Through the Trees. So we really enjoy working together, and he's doing some amazing stuff. So if you can ever get him on your show, he'd be another good one to talk to.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he? Remember watching some of your another interview you did, and I think I read some stuff on Facebook. So did he do a lot of that stunt work in the suit
Oh yeah,
during the fights and stuff? I think you said that was him in there,
yeah,
right?
yeah. He was the only one that ever put the suit on
Okay,
during the film.
that's what I thought
And
you said.
yeah, and Jacob Southwick, who played Lance
Hmm.
and the Bigfoot. He's also a TNA Impact wrestler, and he was the
Really?
yeah.
I haven't watched Impact in a while, but I'll have to check that out.
Madman Fulton is his
Yeah, I've heard of him. Okay.
but he was the stunt coordinator. So him and James worked through the fight scenes, because there were two big ones. You know, there was Jason
Mhm.
versus Lance, and then Jason versus Bigfoot. Um, and then so yeah, they just kind of worked through that stuff together. And
Did you write that on purpose, knowing that he could do the stunts or whatever, that he could fight him as a man and as the beast?
yes, yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of cool.
Once
Yeah,
once I knew who was cast, originally the Lance fight was a lot shorter. Um, but yeah, once I knew what they could do together, I made that fight longer.
yeah, he knows how to take bumps, so to speak.
Yes, yes,
So yeah, that was cool.
yeah,
And another concept that I like in that is you brought back the character of the Duke.
yes, yeah.
You know, obviously that was one of when I talked to Peter about his movie, he that seems to be a character that fans
Love.
Yeah, they love it, and it's almost like they wish he hadn't got wasted in such a
Yes.
bad movie,
Mhm.
and that they should have done something else with him after
He
that.
was the most interesting thing about the film,
Exactly.
and they laid a backstory that they never followed through with. Like, you know, when he handcuffs himself to Jason, he says, "Remember me." Like, there's obviously some previous encounter that he had with Jason, that they never, you know, they never told or showed or anything. They just left it hanging there.
Yeah,
So
we were
people
talking
like
about
me
that
and
movie.
Peter,
Yeah, we're talking about that movie recently where, well, and it's got a couple good concepts, but it's almost like they didn't know what to do, so they threw way too much in a movie. I mean, you got aspects of the Evil Dead in there. You literally, you know, the body hopping is ridiculous. So yeah, when you're watching it, you're like trying, as a fan, you're trying to pull any positive you can out of there. And I think Creighton Duke ends up being one of the ones that everybody picks. But yeah, that was such a wasted character. It's
Yeah.
like you said about not explaining any of that. And yeah, and then what the next one, they go to space, so it's in the future, and so they can't do anything with it. So yeah, I was hoping that when they did the reboot, they might would have done it. So I really appreciate all you guys as fans when you're making these films, fans of the series. You're bringing back some of those characters and trying to do them a little bit of justice. That
absolutely.
actor that's in it, C.J. Bernard, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yeah. Mhm.
He did a pretty good job. I liked him in Masquerade
Yeah. Yeah. He was
as
in Masquerade
well.
also. Yeah.
Yeah. So was he in any of your other films or just those two?
So far, just those two. Um, he Will, who played Mark, in Voorhees Night of the Beast, he did a film called Canine that stars CJ. So um, I wasn't a part of that film, but it's still in our little family, you know. So we do work together on other stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, so far just Masquerade and Voorhees, both Night and After the Beast.
Okay.
He's in After the Beast as
Well,
well.
that's good. Yeah. Clint says CJ was a great dude.
Yes, he was.
Mr. Old School is one of my supporters, so I appreciate him coming out watching the interview. So he says, "Good evening. Hope you both had a good Christmas." We did.
We did.
And Aaron says, "That's a very expensive question. I don't think you have what it takes to pay." So another character that was in, I mean, an actress that has also been kind of a mainstay in your movies is Bailey Freeman, and she played Mrs. Voorhees
She did.
in the Voorhees Night of the Beast. So I thought it'd be a good way we could talk about her, because she obviously plays the main character in one of your other movies that we're going to talk about soon. But how did you meet Bailey and get her and acting in your films?
That same group. She wasn't in Birmingham the first time, but when we started shooting stuff for that company in Arkansas, she was there, and I met her on that set along, and Olivia and James and all, you know, all the same people were all there.
Okay.
But she was originally, I had a wild, crazy idea when I was going to shoot alone that I thought maybe she could, with makeup, that she could pull off Patty. But ended up not going that way and ended up finding Marilyn. But yeah, I thought she was an amazing Mrs. Voorhees, even though she was only in it for a quick flashback sequence. Yeah, Bailey's fantastic. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Friday the 13th fan films that have come out this year, quite a few of them have tried to do something with Mrs. Voorhees, because that's another character that, you know, you obviously don't know much about her backstory. I think aren't they supposed to dig into that into the Friday the 13th
TV
series is coming out?
Yeah.
Yep, this is awesome. I'll look it up. Thanks for the info. So we won't step into, unless you want to go ahead and talk about After the Beast. You want to talk about that now, or
Sure.
you want to go ahead? So I obviously have tried to steer away from a lot of that, because I kind of want to go into that when I see it as a surprise. But do you have any? Can you drop any hints, or give us a I don't know, just like a trimmed down version of the plot, so we don't get spoiled or what happens in it?
Without spoilers, let's see. I will tell you that it's short. It's not as long as Night of the Beast, and it takes place pretty close to right after Night of the Beast. it has to do with Duke meeting with some people who have some questions about what happened
Okay.
during the events of Night of the Beast, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because, like I said, I think we've really taken a giant leap. What you filmmakers are doing with like the Friday the 13th concept. You know, what has it been, a decade since we've had an official Friday the 13th movie? So, you know, there was some pretty cheesy ones that came out at the beginning, but I think a lot of you guys have done such an excellent job over the last couple of years. Number one, obviously, with you being fans of the series, you want to be respectful to it, but obviously, number two, you know, as a fan, the things that all of us were thinking, like the characters, like you know, the Duke, bringing all those back. I think I know I enjoyed Vorhees Night of the Beast, so there wouldn't be any reason that I wouldn't enjoy that one. Mrs. Voorhees loves the Necronomicon.
Yes, he does. I will say one other thing. There was a post-credit scene that was scripted for Vorhees Night of the Beast that we ended up not shooting because we ran out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when the opportunity came around to do After the Beast, one of the things I was most excited about was being able to correct that. And we actually shot the original post-credit scene, and it's part of After the Beast, which I'm really excited about, and it turned out absolutely amazing. One of the things I wanted to do with Night of the Beast was to bridge the gap between the Paramount films and Jason Goes to Hell, because it's such a jump that fans just, it's just like, what is happening, right? This isn't Jason. And so I wanted to kind of bridge the gap canonically, if I could, and show like how Jason went from what he was in Jason Takes Manhattan to what he is in Jason Goes to Hell. And I think we did a good job of that in Night of the Beast, and we go even further in After the Beast. So we get closer to Jason Goes to Hell, even closer than we were at the end of Night of the Beast. So
yeah, I'm such a fan of the series. I really do think the films that I've enjoyed the most are the ones that try to stay as close to canon as possible. Yeah. Like, and either not only just fill in the gaps, but I don't, really want to take the characters too far away, because that was another thing I was discussing with somebody. Friday the 13th, other than the couple of ones that New Line made there at the end, the core series really stayed true to the Jason character. And so I like the fact that you did that and kind of, like you said, bridge the gap in there, because I think that's why a lot of the fans probably were drawn to it. You were talking about how many views you had. Yeah. It's probably because of that. You didn't take it too far from the core concept and just expanded upon what was already there. I think that's the best way to do it.
And then we did something new with it, right? We brought in Bigfoot.
Exactly. Well, I know some people might have thought that might have been a cheesy concept. I've always been, I don't know, I kind of made an inside joke to me. If you remember watching my review, man, dude, I loved Bigfoot growing up. I mean, I grew up watching the $6 Million Man. The Bigfoot episodes were my favorite ones. So as soon as I found out that's what you were going to do, I mean, that kind of like brought me back to my childhood of, oh shit, we get to watch, two icons here. To me, I thought that was a great concept. Plus, nobody knows what would really happen if a Bigfoot was real. Like, what could he do with one of these characters?
Who knows?
With the strength that one of them has. So, I mean, I thought that was cool. Was that your idea?
No, actually, when I first decided I was going to do a Friday the 13th film, I put a post out on the filmmaking site here in Arkansas. I was like, hey, I'm doing the Friday the 13th fan film. Would anybody like to help me? And one of the people that responded was Jason Mansfield, who is a filmmaker here in Arkansas. And he, not only is he a filmmaker, but he's a huge like lore and enthusiast. He goes to like Bigfoot conventions and UFO stuff. And
oh, really?
Really into that kind of stuff. And I didn't know much about him. I knew of him before we started talking about the project, and I was looking through his Facebook, kind of stalking him a little bit, and I just kept seeing like Bigfoot stuff, and he produced some Bigfoot found footage movies, and I was like, and it just hit me like, while I was looking through his stuff, I was like, why don't we do Jason versus Bigfoot? And I pitched it to him, and he loved it, and we went from there.
I'm surprised nobody even thought of something similar because
Yeah,
Jason is in the woods the whole
exactly.
time. So anything that's in the woods, I mean, I was almost surprised that in the later movies they didn't have maybe like a bear or something because you think he's going to interact with something in the woods eventually if you live in the woods. So I thought that was another reason why I thought
They,
it was a
I mean,
really unique concept.
they even established that it's bear country in part 2. Like,
Exactly.
so
Oh
yeah,
yeah, when he's talking about what
yeah,
the females need to stay clean.
yeah.
We had a couple comments here that, oh, we read that one. I'd like to see a young version of Mrs. Voorhees. I think you're going to get your wish because I think a young Mrs. Voorhees is going to be in that Peacock series.
Absolutely.
Wasn't there a rumor of introducing Jason's dad? Wasn't his name supposed to be Eli or something like that? There was a rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was rumors of that. I mean, I think that's why a lot of the fan films people have taken that route is because that was
The
another
Vengeance,
character that
the Vengeance movies push Jason's dad really heavy, and they're amazing, by the way. And C.J. Graham, who played Jason in Part 6, plays Jason's dad in the Vengeance movie. So I highly
exactly.
recommend those. Yeah.
And he actually puts the suit on for that one scene at the end of the last one, so that was pretty epic. Part 6, if I you, I doubt you watch my ranking, but I put Part 6 as my favorite one. It was that was the first one I went to see in theaters, and it was I don't know why, I just liked it. I kind of had those hooks into the Universal Monsters type thing, so that was why I liked it.
Yeah, I love Part 6. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes, Mr. Old School. When Jason lives, he's supposed to appear at the end of the movie. Yep. So they tend to find out if you look at it, a lot of those Friday 13th movies, they screwed up right at the very end on a lot of them. They had done different things. Well, so obviously the next, when is that? When can we expect? Is it January 13th when you're going to debut the next
January 13th, we are having the live in-person premiere, and then we are going to be having the online premiere January 14th on Movie Lovers Unite channel.
one? Okay.
I don't know if you know that channel, but he's going.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Once you get your links out there, or whatever, I'll share with everybody that watches my channel, so that way we can all enjoy it. Because I'm really looking forward to that because I love the other one so much. And then I'll go ahead and once you do it, I'll get a review out on my channel as well.
Thank you.
So then, so after Voorhees, was that you did? How long was it before you went right into When the Stairs Creep?
About 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Did
shot.
you do anything in between there, or was that just your
I
next planned movie?
I worked on a Lifetime film as a second assistant director in between. It's coming out in February, and it's called My Husband the Narcissist, and it'll be out on Lifetime like February 12th, I think, something like that.
Okay.
But I worked on that as
I
second.
think I saw the trailer commercial for that on one of the movies my wife was watching during
Really?
Christmas. Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's what I did in between, and then When the Stairs Creek we shot in July. I don't usually shoot in the summer, but on that one, so the story behind that one was in the springtime we had scheduled to do the third installment of the Alone saga, Lonely Echoes, which takes place after Masquerade, but we didn't have the funding yet, and so I pushed that off. But a bunch of us still wanted to do something. And so I worked with Bailey, and I don't know if you know the song "Little Talks" of Monsters and Men, but I always thought that would translate well to a story. The lyrics translate well into a film, and so I wrote a script based on that song, and we ended up shooting When the Stairs Creek in July, and let's see, I think we got it out in early November is when it came out. Had a lot of fun on that one.
So, not to backtrack too much, what time of year did you film Vorhees Night of the Beast?
We shot Vorhees Night of the Beast in October of last year, 2021.
I was a lot of outdoor shooting. I was just wondering
Yes,
if it was cold back then.
It was cold. It was a poor Jessa in the scene by the lake.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
She was a trooper. Goodness.
Yeah, so like I said, I hadn't talked at the beginning. I hadn't watched When the Stairs Creek yet, and then you were gracious enough to send me the link, and I watched that. It was yesterday. I really liked it. The Bailey Freeman's character, Sarah. I mean, man, she did a good job, man. She looked pretty traumatized. in that role. And her, I mean, she did a good job. I think I told you in the comment I made, you could, when she was holding that coffee and the tear hit, that was a pretty good scene there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a good job. Let me catch a couple comments here. See what's that. According to Adam Marcus, Elias Voorhees is his brother. I don't know that I would listen to a lot of that Adam Marcus says from what I've seen in interviews. Part 5 was one of my favorite ones, and then Me Too, Scott. So I will tell you this, probably a few minutes into it, I sort of thought I knew where the concept was going, and I turned out to be right.
What gave it away for you? I'm curious. What gave it away?
I don't know that anything gave it away, but I will tell you this. I think one of the bad things, and I'll tell you, that's the reason my wife hates going to the movie with me, is I've seen so many movies.
Okay.
And I'm automatically going into it going, all right, what's the hook or what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And when he sat down and it didn't look like, I know the way you framed it, I don't want to give everything away too much. It was like two people that were very distant and maybe they were speaking to each other without speaking to each other. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, yeah, well, we could go Sixth Sense with this. And I didn't know that's what was going to happen, but I think it isn't that you gave anything away. I think it's just partly because I've seen so many movies, and my wife, she goes, I like going to the theater with you because you can't talk. But if you sit at home, within a few minutes, I'll tell her, well, this is exactly what's going to happen. This, and this. And then she gets mad because I'm like, well, I don't have to watch any Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies because that's rent cycle repeat. I can tell you once you know who the main characters are. But like I said, I really don't think you gave too much away. I think, and I'm not touting my skills, but I really did figure out, like you said, it wasn't a true horror movie because somebody said it was a horror movie. It's more like a psychological thriller type thing. But I think it was just because I kind of was trying to guess what the hook was going to be from the very beginning. And that's bad. I need to go into movies more open-minded.
The goal at the beginning was to get the viewer to think that he's having an affair with her, and that's why she's upset.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was one of the reasons she might have taken her ring off, was that she had caught him in an affair. But once they didn't look at each other in the eye, I was like, and like I said, knowing that the type of movies you make,
there's something,
that there's something there, that if this was somebody I didn't know and it was a movie that I just bought at the dollar store on DVD or just bought turned it over to the TV and watched it, I might not have figured it out. So that's one of the bad things of being a movie fan that's watched so many movies, I guess, is that but I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong about it, and then that actually
surprises you, right?
Yeah, well, I'm actually glad sometimes because I'm like, well, this one is unique and original. So I don't want to say that your movie isn't unique, but the concept, you did play it out really well, like I said, because you could have went multiple ways with that. And I do like the fact that when she took her ring off, it did have me guessing, like you said. I was like, well, maybe that's not what's going on here. But then I also started thinking about the title.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could play that multiple ways. When a husband's not home and stays out late, and the woman is basically in bed, crying her eyes out, and she hears the stairs, that might be her switch it off and pretend like I'm asleep so that they don't have to interact and they can stay separate. So yeah, I really like that concept, how you got those two layers that could be going on at the same time, and then then you all of a sudden you flip it. So it was really good, but like I said, it was really well acted. I mean, I thought Bailey did a really good job. Poor girl, man, you had her looking so haggard in that first half of that movie, and then you could see that in the middle of the movie, when I guess when she takes the bath and she lets all that emotion out, it's almost like she looks different after that because she's starting to,
right? She looks more healthy.
Yeah, it's like she just had that moment where she realized, I can't continue doing this.
Yeah.
And Olivia played a really nice character in there because I thought that was
to our makeup guy and hair person, Joshua Odom. Actually did the makeup for Masquerade and When the Stairs Creak. Yeah, her look at the beginning, that was him, and then Olivia, her look in Masquerade was Joshua Odom, and then Tiffany Moore did the hair for Masquerade and When the Stairs Creak as well. They both look fantastic.
Yeah, she looked like somebody who hadn't slept for days or whatever. So I mean, that was really good. And then it was nice. You got to see Marilyn back. playing her mother. Internet Movie Database just lists her as mother. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
you didn't really give her a name, but
Well, she doesn't have a name, and neither did Olivia. Olivia is just woman.
yeah, and that's probably good because I mean it was really centered around that couple, and you
Yeah.
didn't really need to know anything more than just keying on that couple. So they did a really good job, and I liked how you used Olivia's character and then had it, as part of her healing process, and then came around at the very end. So I thought that was a nice way to wrap up the story. So, it kind of like that was one of the ones that instead of starting out, nice and slow, it's like you get really emotional at the beginning. It's almost like it's a reverse of the way a lot of stories are told.
Yeah.
So that was a nice touch too. So I really like that. But yeah, you've had a really good uh mix of different types of movies, even though, like you said, some horror elements run through a lot of these, and obviously with the Voorhees, but the other ones, where you've had these actors, but they play such different roles.
Mhm.
I mean, plus you with your ability to write and direct them. I mean, it kind of really shows that the range that you guys have as a group. So I mean, I think it's another reason I've enjoyed your work so much is that everything isn't the same. You've got characters like Olivia or Bailey that play such different people and all the different roles you've created. So I mean, that's a great job on your part of
you.
writing those roles.
Thank you.
They're talking about part 5. Oh, wait a minute. They said part 5 of Friday 13th is basically Halloween 3 or Halloween Ends, depending on the way you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott says the same thing. His wife gets mad at me. Well, my wife she's a casual movie goer, and I'm a movie buff. I mean, I love
Yeah.
watching movies. My son, on the other side, like you and I were talking earlier, he's one of the ones that can watch a movie once and never has to watch it again. And I'm like, well, you don't catch all the nuances and
You don't
stuff.
see everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of the reasons I wanted to watch Masquerade again. It's like once you know the hook, then you don't have to watch for that, and you can pay attention to everything else.
Right.
All right, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So you got Voorhees coming out, and was there anything else that you are in the middle of, or you want to try to promote to tell us
Yeah.
about the future?
So I think the next thing is we're moving on to a feature film, The Forest Through the Trees, and this is a demon cult movie. So I'm working on the script now. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to be able to shoot it, but once the script is done, we'll move into pre-production and start looking for investors. So hopefully, sometime within the next year or two, we'll be able to shoot it. So that's the next thing.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Aaron said my wife absolutely hates horror. I was just in a horror short, and my wife refuses to watch it. No, I think my wife would probably watch mine. Does your wife enjoy the
No.
different types of stories that you've made, Jason?
She supports me and she's proud. She's proud of of what I've been able to accomplish. But no, she does not like horror films.
Okay. My wife basically says I watch too much horror, but I'm like you. There's so many different types of horror movies.
Yeah.
Psychological horror, obviously, slasher horror. I mean, you can do so much with it. And then, yeah, there's actually ones with comedic elements to it. So I think it's one of the ones. That's one of the reasons I like it is there's so many different types of it. But either way, and I know before we came on here, before we wrap it up, you had another topic you wanted to talk about, and I just want before we get into that, I want to thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For your patience. I know I should have interviewed you a couple months ago because I like Masquerade so much. So I apologize for the delay. I really appreciate you coming on here. And I want to give you the floor to talk about anything else you want to talk about at this moment before we leave.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm glad we were able to get Olivia on. And that was a good surprise for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, it seems that there is some drama or whatever you want to call it happening out there in the horror community regarding me and the situation with the crowdfunding on Vorhees Night of the Beast. It was an unfortunate situation where my producing partner on that, the partnership that we came up with together is that I would handle the production and the filming, and he would handle the fundraising and the business side and pay everybody, which he did. But all of the fundraising sites were in his name, and he was working on that, and then he had his stroke. He had a medical emergency, and since then, that happened last March, and he's still recovering, and he probably won't ever be the same, unfortunately. But he is not able to enter into his accounts on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and does not remember the passwords. I have reached out to Kickstarter and Indiegogo and asked them if I could take over the accounts, and they both have told me that I can't do that because it wasn't in my name. But I'm doing my best to make it right. Over the last 2 months, I've been researching and trying to figure out how I can, because I don't know who got what perks. I don't know. I don't have the information I need to send them out. I am having DVDs made. So if anybody watching this or does watch it, if you got a perk for Vorhees Night of the Beast, email me or message me on Facebook, your confirmation email or something that just shows that what you got, and I will make sure that you guys get it. But it was never our intention to rip anybody off. It's just this health scare that he had just set everything back, and I'm having to take everything over and figure out how to do that without having access to all the information is what's happening. So we apologize for all of that. But my name is being thrown around and dragged through the mud, and that kind of bothers me a little bit, because I love this horror community, and I greatly appreciate everybody who supported us and donated to the film, and I hope everybody who did is happy with the film. One thing that is being said that isn't true, everybody who got the perks for being listed in the credits, the IMDb credits, everyone's on the IMDb page. Everybody's on listed in the credits at the end of the film. So as far as I know, what my partner has told me is it's basically the DVDs that didn't get sent out. I know that there was a screen used mask perk that was bought, and that person did get that. So if anybody, just email me and just show me what you got, and I'll make sure you guys get it. So that's it.
Okay, well, I appreciate you doing that. I will say I don't know anything about the situation, but I will say you and I are in a lot of the same Facebook groups and stuff, and I've followed you a lot. What you're saying, as far as I did read about the unfortunate circumstances that your partner went through back when it happened, so I know that that's 100% true because I saw all the posts and all the well wishes people were giving him and all that. So it's very unfortunate, and hopefully he'll be okay. And hopefully you guys will better resolve it. But Jason's been a pretty stand-up guy from everything that I've seen, and from what I've read, I pretty much trust what he just said. So
thank you.
I appreciate you doing that. And also, like I said, I appreciate you coming on and talking about your films. I think if nothing else, we got a couple guys. Scott is, like I said, one of my viewers. He said he's going to watch it. So before we wrap it up, Alone and Masquerade you can watch on Tubi, and Vorhees Night of the Beast you can watch on YouTube. And is When the Stairs Creek, do you have that out where the public can view it yet?
Not yet. I do have a private link. If anybody really wants to watch it, you can share the link that I shared with you.
Okay.
You
If a couple of my viewers here want to see it, I'll
post in the chat right now. I just don't want it public on YouTube because it'll disqualify us from some festivals that it's in. It's still running through its festival run. And man, it's killing. I don't know how we won Best Horror in Toronto at Bridgefest. I don't think it's a horror film, but somehow.
Well, I mean, yeah, hey man, toot your own horn. I mean, you guys see? You probably got some stuff hanging up behind you back there. I mean,
this is all for Masquerade.
Okay, well, that's amazing. Did Olivia win anything for Masquerade?
Yeah, Olivia won Best Actress twice, and then we won one ensemble best, like overall best acting, like everybody in the film. So we won Best Acting. We won. Olivia won Best Actress twice. I won Best Director for Masquerade 3 times, and
Awesome.
it won Best either Best Short Film or Best Horror Short Film nine times.
Okay.
And When the Stairs Creek, it's only been in the festivals for a month, and it's killing it too. Bailey's already won Best Actress twice.
Oh, good.
I've won Best Director twice, and it's won Best Short Film 4
Did
times.
Masquerade come out last year or this year?
When the Stairs Creek came out in November, early November.
What about Masquerade? What year did that come out?
Masquerade came out, I think it was last December.
So it was right on the,
Yeah,
because I think I saw it after the first of the year.
yeah, it was right after the first of the year. We had our in-person premiere in late December, and then it was like released publicly out after the first of the year.
Okay. Well, it looks like you got a lot of good stuff coming up, and so anything you guys are doing, if you want to talk about it on my channel, or you just want to let me know, I'll let my fans know. Like I said, I love movies. It doesn't matter what kind of movies it is, as long as you can, like I said, as long as you can tell the person is passionate about what they're doing and they put the effort into it, I'll always give it a watch. And I've really enjoyed all the stuff that you've done, and I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll support you in the future as you go forward. So
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you so much, man.
not a problem. So anybody, I'm not going to post a link. I don't have it with me, but what I'll do is anybody that's watching it now or in the future, if you want to see When the Stairs Creek, you can let me know. I'll send you that link that he sent me, and that way I don't post it public like you said. But I'll let that way some people can enjoy it. But like I said, support him. This is the one thing I forgot to ask you. How did you get those movies on Tubi? Is that a long process?
Not really. So I go through Film Hub. So they do have like a quality check. All of the artwork has to be like really clean. The only text that can be on them is the title, and so you have to redo all your artwork, and you have to redo it in like different sizes, and then you have to have closed captioning. And actually, Bailey has been doing my closed captioning for all my films. She'll go through and watch the film and create a closed captioning file.
Wow.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then so you upload your movie, your closed captioning, and your artwork up to Film Hub, and then they'll run it through their quality check. If there's any problems, they'll kick it back and let you know what you need to fix. They give you three chances. If you don't get it on the third one, then they don't take it. But if you do get it on there, which we were able to do with Alone and Masquerade, it's basically like just like a shopping center for all of the different streaming services, and there's a ton of them.
Oh, okay.
And it's not just the U.S; it's all over the world. So they'll watch a movie and be like, okay, I want this on my streaming service, and then based on like ads, like minutes watched and ads, you get some revenue back. For this year, for both Alone and Masquerade on Tubi, I've made about $1,400. It's nothing huge, but it's something, right?
Tubi's really big in the horror community because they got a lot of good what you want to call like the micro budget type horror movies. A lot of the guys in my live stream support that kind of stuff. So do I. The producer David Sterling, I talk to him a lot, and he's got a lot of micro budget movies. So I mean, a lot of people are doing that these days. Everybody now has access to higher quality cameras and everything. I mean, half the time I record stuff just using my iPhone. So
yeah. I mean, these iPhones are getting crazy good.
I had a movie here that I got in my horror pack this month that it says, I think the person that played your Jason is in it. You ever heard of this movie, 13 Slaves Till Christmas?
Yes. Yeah. James is in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I thought I read on the Internet Movie Database that he was in that. I thought that was pretty ironic that
awesome.
The guy that played your Jason is in that. So anybody got the horror pack, you can watch. And I think his character is Officer Voorhees.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So
I made jokes about that. Yeah.
So that was pretty ironic that I was talking to you and I got that in the mail.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know your time is valuable, so I'll let you get back to your family. I really appreciate you coming on the channel.
Absolutely.
So everybody support Jason Pitts. watch his movies either on Tubi or YouTube. And then when his new stuff comes out next year, I'll promote it on the channel as well. So I really appreciate you coming on. And this has been a very nice interview. Like I said, I appreciate what you did about giving Olivia on here. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So everybody, I'm going to close it out by saying my normal spiel. This has been JEFFMAN316, your pop culture reporter. And this time we had Jason Pitts on here. And you guys be safe out there.
Thank you guys for watching.
Mr. Mayor, Chief, ladies and gentlemen.